So yeah, what is Model Context Protocol? Um, Model Context Protocol is, well, basically a rule set for how some system should function. And in this case, it's surrounding model context. So what that means is what type of information you can provide to an LLM, a large language model, to then actually, in a structured way, help it reason and answer questions or problems. So what it actually enables is us to formalize a structured way to add in information from various applications to allow different programs to actually leverage LLMs as well, and effectively more easily provide uh, LLMs with the information we need and enable them to participate in various applications we previously did not think we would be able to. So when it comes to MCP and a lot of misconceptions that I can think about it is that it is not a silver bullet. If there's one thing we see in the AI space right now is that there is a lot of hype and fan fiction and just a lot of hypeism going around regarding what something is. And it is like we just spoke about, it is a structure for how to actually perform this type of communication. More or less, the core essence of it all is that you need to have some value to provide through the protocol to begin with to actually make it useful. So just because you have MCP does not make it so that you have a solid product for LLMs or AI in general. That's what I would say is the biggest misconception. That's why a lot of people are building a lot of interesting things right now, just because already pre-existing products are now enabled for AI to leverage. So I would say the biggest reason why MCP is relevant and how it helps solve problems for models today is that it isn't necessarily about how models work. It's more about bringing consistency and allowing everybody to come in and actually be able to leverage models in a consistent way. Because it's otherwise going to be very much dependent on skill, like prompting and prompt engineering that we saw like a year ago. 3 years ago is quite tough. Yeah, because LLMs and everything kind of hit it off like 2.5, 3 years ago with ChatGPT. But what I would say is that if we would have had that around that time, it would probably have accelerated all the development that we've seen move so quickly forward altogether and get stronger widespread adoption, because people are already building a bunch of MCP servers to facilitate these different applications, and different clients growing up by the day. Uh, to give something like give an example, I would say that ChatGPT on its own could have been so much more than just a typical prompt product that we have back in that day. But that was also the kind of the pioneer of this whole era. So it's hard to say. I think tying back to what you said before, MCP is not something that is going to be end all be all on when it comes to adoption for blockchain and whatnot as well. The key thing here is that there needs to be an underlying product, and having MCP as an interface to actually read information off a chain could be super useful, and that would be applicable for all various blockchains out there. But is it a make it or break it thing? No. You can still provide the same information through other means as well. It's just that this is the structured rule set that the overall area of expertise is adopting right now. The simplest answer is that people tend to not choose the right tool for the job. AI has very much become a tool that makes people think that they become domain experts. And it's very much like with engineers, as soon as you have a shiny new hammer, everything becomes a nail. But that is not the case. And AI is something that is probabilistic. It's basically statistics on steroids, as I like to say it. Meaning that if you need something that is consistently and deterministically always correct, AI is not going to be the tool for you. If you're after something that solves a problem good enough, like let's say 80% of the time, that can be an application area for AI. But if it's something that you always need to have the correct answer to, AI is probably not the right tool for the job. That's an excellent question. Where do I see MCP having its biggest opportunity in the next 6 to 12 months? I think the biggest challenge to tackle next will be problems surrounding hallucinations and consistency for agents and various AI solutions out there. And that I think comes with following things like the Unix principle, which for those who don't know, is basically you want to build solutions that do one thing and one thing very well. And then you can compose them and create these more complex solutions out there. With MCP and agents, I think we will get into things more surrounding the concepts of swarms. That some people say, other people talk about topologies, but basically ways where you can have various agents communicate and collaborate to then solve more complex tasks, and they can focus on their domain experience and their expertise itself. And then with MCP, that can be kind of the connections between all these different agents, because it's already getting a lot of adoption, so that we can not only get information from other products and companies out there, but these agents can get that information and then also communicate with each other without having to change that logic. I chose for us to go with MCP just because of the fact that it was kind of a first mover. It came out in late November last year, with an article about the overall idea, and I found it very much interesting. So we started delving into it around January, and oh, that was my fiance. And basically just learning more and more about how we could leverage it to solve our problems. And from there, the door just opened up more and more, and we saw these different possibilities and how we could expand on MCP to then build in our own subset of instructions and operations inside of that framework. The main reason for that is it was starting to get some adoption. It was backed by one of the biggest AI companies out there, which is Anthropic. And it also then means that if it's reaching some sort of standardization or adoption, it's better to build on top of that to get more free interoperability or connections with these other products out there. Right. So EdenLayer leverages MCP through kind of novel means. Tying back to what we spoke about when it comes to agents and whatnot, we're using MCP to create an environment where agents are first-class citizens of the protocol, meaning that they can be both providers to LLMs through MCP servers, but they can also be consumers of responses or information from other MCP servers out there. So they kind of act as both sides of the same system, so both consumers and producers of such information. And with that, that's how we can establish this whole mechanism of topologies or collaboration between these different agents. So an agent can come in and get a request to solve a task, and then actually just communicate with somebody else that they already know about, an agent or a server or whatever, to solve their problems. Or they can themselves then request back to EdenLayer and say, hey, I have this sub problem to solve that I can solve myself. Can you help me with that? And then that way we can get a kind of perpetual loop where the protocol helps solve problems by letting these participants actually solve the problem through the protocol itself. So it just goes in a perpetual loop back until we reach a point where the simplest problem is solved by one agent. The secret sauce with our approach is kind of how we are trying to build it for scale and adoption, and making it as accessible as possible for people to participate. Because we want to build a protocol for anybody and everybody to participate in, because a protocol is the strongest when you have adopters. So we're not looking to necessarily obfuscate anything there. It's more about how we are then building products on top of it. So for example, EdenLayer as a product or a protocol also comes with a terminal that is directly connected to the overall protocol. The other side to it is that we already have integrators into the system as well, where third-party applications can leverage the protocol APIs to effectively build their own AI or agent-driven applications on top of it as well. So it's not necessarily about secret sauce per se. It's more about the fact that we're building something to get adoption and get these stronger projects in there to then facilitate a more robust and efficient ecosystem for everybody else to build on top of. So if MCP is going to be working at scale, especially if we're talking about compositions and delegation of work and whatnot, what that will unlock is a completely new way of communicating and building applications and solutions out there. It kind of will tie heavily into what Jensen is talking about from NVIDIA and other people as well. Anthropic CEO is saying similar things, is that the main primary language of development or programming will be natural language, which would be English or some other language as well, because AI can do translations. But it's more about them being able to declare or describe your problems that you're looking to solve rather than having to explicitly say step by step what you need to do. I would say anybody that has built a product that can be leveraged by AI in any way, shape, or form should consider supporting at least an MCP server, which basically means that you can connect your product with any LLM or agent out there that actually consumes MCP, because that is little to no effort to then actually tap into a way bigger audience. Because now you're not only tapping into developers, for example, if you have a system that is API based, but you're also then tapping into end consumers that are looking to build their own stuff.